Hi, I'm Mercy Khongsai, the Vice President KSO Ukhrul. I'm compelled to issue a clarification regarding the 9-minute 42-second long interview given by Mr. Ramrechan Keshing, the President TKS on Vung Media. This clarification is not intended to escalate the ongoing issue, but rather to place on record the chronology of events mentioned by Mr. Keshing, and I would do so as supported by facts, documented context, available and verifiable evidence. Hence, I would go point by point. First, Mr. Casing claimed that the statements made by Mr. Tony Singsit contain discrepancies and have created confusion in Manipur and Nagaland. Let me state this very clearly. Mr. Tony's interview aired on Zonet on 15 May 2026 was based on facts drawn from verifiable and publicly available sources. Further, in relation to the 13th May ambush, his statements were based on information already placed in the public domain through the official statement of ZUF. Therefore, the attempt to personally vilify him for expressing facts is entirely baseless and undermines the democratic rights to freedom of speech. Second, Mr. Casing questioned why all incidents, including 13th May ambush, are being blamed on the Tangkuls. Let us be precise and honest here. From the very beginning, the Kukizos have been very clear on one thing. We have identified those communalizing the 7 February Litan Sarikung incident, those escalating tensions, and those benefiting from this facade of confusion. However, never once have we ever blamed the entire Tangkul community for any incident. In fact, Kuki Inpi Manipur has categorically clarified this position in its press communique of 5th May 2026, and it is therefore extremely misleading to portray our stand as anti-Tangkul when our concerns have consistently been against specific actions and actors. Third, Mr. Casing claimed that 16 Kuki Zo individuals were released in the exchange of 15 May 2026. This is factually incorrect because only 14 Kuki Zo hostages, primarily women, were released, and the remaining two, Mr. Mangzelen and Boylen, were not released at all. They escaped the captivity and managed to return home with the assistance of security forces. You see, accuracy matters in time, especially in times of conflict, because misinformation only deepens mistrust. And as I talk here today, 14 Kuki Zo men, out of which 3 are students, are still held captive. Fourth, Mr. Casing narrated the genesis of the present conflict by referring to 29 December 2020 incident, winger driver incident of 2025, and of course the Litan Sorekong 7 February incident, while indirectly suggesting communal pattern. So let me provide the necessary and complete context of each past incident mentioned by Mr. Keshing. First, to understand the 29 December 2020 incident, one must understand the background. So Mr. Zim and Mr. Achan, both Tangkul individuals, were members of the Litan Sorekong Double Lane Compensation Committee. Because of their involvement, they were accused of siding with Kukis amid the long-standing land dispute between Mr. Hemkutang Baite, chief of Litan Sorekong, and Mr. Bungray Khan Kasar, headman of Sikibo. Subsequently, Mr. Zim was abducted by Mr. Bungray Khan and his associates, Importantly, the people of Litan Sorekong, irrespective of community, protested against the abduction of Mr. Zin. Though the OC Litan police station initially failed to secure the release of Mr. Zin, the SP Ukhrul later, felicitated the release of Mr. Zin. Following this, on 29 December 2020, Wungray Khan and his associates attempted to abduct Mr. Achan in a boastful manner in broad daylight. Witnessing the scuffle, citizens of Litan Sorekong, again irrespective of community, intervened to stop the abduction. During the altercation, Wungray Khan was assaulted by the crowd, but it was the Litan Sorekong village authority and elder, Mr. Alal Baite, who helped Mr. Wungray Khan escape safely to Litan police station. A week later, through the initiative of then MLA Mr. Alfred Arthur Kangam, a compromise meeting was held at Litan police station, attended by leaders including MLA Leishio. Both the chief of Litan Sorekong and headman of Sikibung were advised to pursue legal mechanisms for resolving their land dispute and to refrain from portraying it as a communal issue. This is important because facts clearly show that the 2020 incident was purely rooted in land dispute, not ethnic hostility. Eventually, the matter was adjudicated twice in succession, and on both occasions, the verdict unequivocally favored Mr. Hemkutang Baite, chief of Litan Sorekong, apparently leaving Mr. Wungray Khan of Sikibung harboring an unreasonable grudge against Mr. Hemkutang Baite. And as for the winger driver incident of 2025, the occurrence took place in the middle of Mongkutchepu on 26 June 2025 around 7 p.m. Primarily due to reckless overspeeding by the winger driver in a residential area and poorly conditioned stretch of road. After hitting a pothole, the speeding winger splashed muddy water onto scooter riders approaching from the opposite direction and triggering confrontation that escalated following the driver's condescending remarks. The matter was later taken up at Litan police station and resolved largely in line with demands from Tangkul's side, including compensation initially fixed at 5 lakh, later reduced to 2 lakh, with the chief of Mongkutchepu and 3 others compelled to sign a pre-drafted agreement. However, the incident was fundamentally a case of road rage and reckless driving, not a communal issue. Now, coming to the so-called incident of 7 February 2026, Litan Sorekong incident, alleged to have triggered the ongoing conflict, I will not dwell into details as the matter has already been extensively discussed and the statements of those involved are publicly available. It does not change the fact that it was a drunken brawl, but what remains evidence, however, is that Mr. Wungray Khan Kasar, the headman of Sikibung, appears to have conveniently and successfully exploited the incident to effect the removal of Kuki Zos from Litan Sorekong through force of numbers, an outcome he had failed to achieve through lawful means. So cherry-picking past incidents and interpreting them exclusively through a communal prism to justify the ongoing conflict is fundamentally misguided. What is often projected as the origin of the present unrest may equally be seen as the consequence of prolonged suppression and condescending treatment endured by the minority community at the hands of the majority community. Further, Mr. Keishing claimed that only two Kuki-Zo villages are situated along NH 202 and that no Kuki individual has ever been assaulted by Tangkuls along along this highway stretch. Again, this is absolutely incorrect. Let's keep this straight on record that there are three Kuki Zo villages situated along the National Highway 202, namely Litan Sorikong, Mongkot Chepu, and Shanghai. Moreover, on 2nd March 2026, a Kuki Zo man of Mongkot Chepu, traveling with his wife, mother, and children, was assaulted at Namthi Lok along NH 202, which is between Mongkot Chepu and Shanghai, by three Tangkul men from Reha village. Therefore, to suggest that no such incident ever occurred is factually misleading. Fifth, Mr. Casing indirectly questioned the sincerity of the Kukizos regarding peace by saying peace cannot emerge from lies and hypocrisy and asked peace at what cost. If we genuinely examine who pursued peace, the answer lies in facts, not in rhetoric and selective narrative. Let me recount the meetings held since the beginning of this conflict, especially because I personally attended the first three meetings. So, 8 February 2026, Litan Police Station meeting. This was the first meeting in relation to this ongoing conflict. The Tangkul side was represented by Mr. Mashungmi Zinke, whose conduct from the very moment we met was hostile, openly hostile and condescending. In the presence of senior officers like IG Angam, DIG Ningsem Vasum, SP Babita, SDO Ukhrul, and officers of 8 Bihar Regiment, negotiation could not meaningfully begin due to threats made by Mr. Zinke and his TKS colleagues, including statements like, "Now you see what we will do." Considering this, the officers present there suggested reconvening the meeting on 9 February at 11 a.m. With Mr. Zinke's parting words were like, "Let me see if we meet calm and peaceful or not." As said by him, this reconvened meeting never materialized because barely an hour after we left Litan police station, burning of houses began. And let facts speak. The first house that was burned belonged to a Kuki Zo man, Mr. Lam Kuthang Baite, and his house was burned around 11:50 p.m. on 8 February. Then we talk about 9th February 2026 meeting convened by Government of Manipur. Despite everything that happened on the intervening night of 8 February and 9 February, the Kukizo leaders still, came for dialogue, hoping for solution to this meeting led by the Honorable Deputy Chief Minister Mr. Deko, attended by MLAs Mrs. Kim Neo Hangshing, Mr. Ramuiva, district officials of Kamjong district and ukhrul, and then civil society leaders including TNL, TSL, Kuki NP ukhrul, KSO ukhrul, only seeking for resolution. While the Kukizo leaders approached the meeting with an intent toward resolution and de escalation, the Tangkhul side remained preoccupied with land claims and historical assertions. Shockingly, even amid the high level meeting, in the presence of senior dignitaries and under heavy security deployment, Kukizo houses were set ablaze again by the Tangkhuls, an incident that eventually triggered retaliatory blank fire from the Kuki side. This left the meeting with no concrete solution. Then we talk about, 14th February peace meeting. After exactly 4 days with zero initiative from the Tangkul side, finally Working Committee TNM and Peace Working Committee from the Kuki side reached to a temporary agreement or temporary understanding with just 2 points. Yet to this day, those points remained largely unimplemented from the Tangkul side. Now, on 4th May 2026, there was a meeting convened at Kohima by Nagaland Joint Christian Forum. Again, at this meeting, the proposed ceasefire agreement ultimately failed after the refusal from the Tangkul side to sign the ceasefire agreement. Importantly, Pastor V. Sidhau was among the Kuki-Zo delegates who participated in this peace effort, attempting to bridge the gap between the Tangkuls and the Kukis, only to lose his life in the tragic ambush on 13th May 2026. Therefore, when peace is questioned, we must ask honestly who repeatedly came to the negotiating table and who repeatedly obstructed peace progress. And finally, to answer the question, peace at what cost? Peace cannot be achieved through forceful dominance, intimidation, propaganda, selective narrative, suppression, and communal superiority. Peace will only come through mutual respect, recognition, acceptance, tolerance, and an honest commitment to equal and respectful coexistence. Peace had its chance. Unfortunately, we missed it. But I would say it is not yet late. The Kukizos have consistently stood for peace, but never at the cost of our dignity, our identity, land rights, nor yielding to arrogance, domination, and superiority complex of a selected few. Thank you.